Long ago, in a small village called Ogwama, life was simple and peaceful. The people farmed their land, raised their families, and lived under the protection of their king. Every morning brought laughter, hard work, and hope. But the people of Ogwama did not know that their peaceful days were about to come to an end. One morning, a messenger came rushing into Ogwama on horseback. He was exhausted, frightened, and covered in dust. Everyone gathered around him, waiting to hear what had happened. Then he spoke. "A powerful empire is coming." The villagers became silent. The empire had thousands of warriors, and they were marching straight toward Ogwama. Their message was simple: leave your land or prepare for war. The messenger was taken straight to the king. Everyone expected the king to order the people to run, but the king remained silent. He slowly stood from his throne and looked at the frightened villagers. Then he said, "Ogwama is our home. If they want our land, they will have to take it from us." The elders were shocked. The enemy army was far stronger, but the king had made his decision. Ogwama would not surrender. As fear spread through the village, one young farmer stepped forward. His name was Kelechi. He had never fought in a battle. He had never killed a man. He was only a farmer. But when he saw the fear in his people's eyes, he picked up his spear and walked toward the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "if we all run, there will be nowhere left to return to." The king stared at him. Then something changed. The king realized that courage was not always found in the strongest warrior. Sometimes, it was found in an ordinary man who refused to run. The people of Ogwama knew they had little time. Farmers left their fields. Blacksmiths worked through the night. Hunters taught the young men how to fight. Even those who had never held a weapon before began preparing for war. The women gathered food and water. The elders studied the land and searched for a way to protect the village. Everyone was afraid. But for the first time, the people of Ogwama stood together. They were no longer just villagers. They were preparing to become warriors. 3 days later, the enemy finally arrived. From the hills, the people of Ogwama saw them. Thousands of warriors covered the horizon. Their shields reflected the sunlight. Their drums echoed across the land. The villagers had prepared for war, but nothing could have prepared them for an army this large. The king looked at his few hundred defenders. Then he looked at the approaching army. For the first time, even the king wondered, could Ogwama survive? The enemy commander rode to the gates of Ogwama. He stopped before the king and delivered one final warning. "Leave this village before sunset. No one will be harmed if you surrender." The villagers looked at their king. They were waiting for his answer. The king slowly stepped forward. He looked at the enormous army behind the commander. Then he looked back at his people, and with a calm voice, he said, "Tell your emperor that Ogwama belongs to its people. We will not leave." The commander smiled. Then he turned his horse toward the waiting army. The drums of war began to beat. The drums thundered across the land. Then the enemy army charged. The warriors of Ogwama raised their shields and stood their ground. Arrows filled the sky. Spears clashed. The ground shook beneath the feet of thousands of warriors. Ogwama's defenders were heavily outnumbered, but they fought with everything they had. Kelechi fought beside the king, protecting his people with every breath. For hours, the battle continued. Then suddenly, Kelechi noticed something strange. The enemy warriors were not attacking the village anymore. They were moving toward the royal palace. Kelechi ran toward the palace and warned the king. "The enemy isn't trying to destroy the village," he said. "They're searching for something." The king's face suddenly changed. He led Kelechi beneath the royal throne. There, hidden beneath the palace, was an ancient passage. They followed it into a dark underground chamber. On the walls were carvings older than the kingdom itself, and in the center of the chamber stood an ancient wooden chest. Kelechi looked at the king. "What is inside?" The king remained silent. Then he whispered, "The reason they came here." The king finally opened the chest. Inside was the ancient crown of Ogwama's first king, but beneath it was something even more important. A secret map showing a hidden passage beneath the enemy's camp. The king looked at Kelechi. "This is why they came. They want the ancient treasure of our ancestors, but they don't know about the passage." Kelechi understood. The villagers could not defeat the enemy with strength. but they could defeat them with knowledge. That night, Kelechi led the king and a small group of warriors through the secret passage. By sunrise, the invading army had been surrounded. The empire was forced to retreat, and Ogwama survived. From that day forward, the people remembered one lesson. A kingdom is not protected by its walls. It is protected by the courage of its people.